Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the May 20th, 2025 meeting of the Richmond Redevelopment Commission. First thing we want to do is take attendance.
Michael Bloom.
Here.
Jenny Lahman.
Here.
Kathy Lucid.
Here.
Gary Turner. Allison Zeidel.
Here.
Nicole Stoltz.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, we have before us our agenda, and the first thing on the agenda is to review our minutes from our meeting of March the 18th, 2025. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We also have minutes from our April 1st, 2025 meeting on the Smith Hill Single Family Residential Housing Economic Development Area. I had one slight change on the minutes, Beth, on our adjournment time.
Okay.
If we started at 1:30, we couldn't,
Oh, my apologies.
we couldn't adjourn at 1:16.
That was a good catch.
146.
Yeah. So given that change, does anyone else have any changes or changes to the minutes at all?
No.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Same sign. Minutes are approved. Thank you. Moving right along, let's look at our financials. And we have two sets here, do we not, Beth?
We do. Yes, since we did not have our last meeting, we have the March financials, and then for today's meeting, we have the April financials.
Would you like to speak to, let's just speak to the April ones, if that's all right?
Absolutely.
Do the most current ones?
Sure. So as we didn't really have anything unique within allocation area number 1, you will notice that the new resolutions that have been approved by the commission have been added. So we have the community crossings funding, the Morrison Reeves Library design funding, as well as the funding that was approved for 6 Main. This is the cash that's being contributed by the Redevelopment Commission to the project. This appears in allocation area 1 because it is coming from that area to support that project. When the bonds close on 6 Main, which we will talk about a little bit later, some of the timeline for that, there will be a separate bond fund that will be set up for the 6 Main project, similar to what we have set up for the Midwest Industrial Park.
And so it'll move off of this sheet.
It will move off of this sheet when the cash is spent from here. So when we close, this money will be transferred to the trustee. We are using Old National as a trustee for this project. So the funding on closing date will be transferred to the trustee. And then as invoices are received from the developer, they will be reviewed and approved and forwarded to the trustee. And then the trustee will then transfer those funds to the developer.
But just to clarify, that amount will stay on this page. I mean, we'll be seeing that depletion of the funds as the bills are paid.
No.
How is that going to work?
No, at closing, all of the local funds are transferred to the trustee, and the trustee will hold those funds.
Okay, so that 4.5 will come off.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, it will transfer the trustee, as well as the funding that's being provided by the Wayne County government, the $2 million that they've provided, as well as the bond proceeds. All of those funds on the day of closing will transfer to the trustee. And then as the developer submits invoices, those invoices will be approved and then paid by the trustee. We will have reports from the trustee showing the drawdown of the local funds.
Looks like we did have a little bit out of it, though.
We did have a little bit out of there for the demolition project that is occurring. There is a portion of the demolition that is being covered by the developer, and that is due at time of closing. So since these funds are going to the developer at that time, we're utilizing these funds for that final development piece of the demolition.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
And will we be earning, will there be any interest paid on these monies while they're held by the
Yes.
trustee? And who gets that interest?
We do.
And that'll be paid to us monthly, quarterly, semi-annually?
I do not know how the controller has that set up at this time. The ones that we have currently are coming monthly. This is a different trustee. We've been using Bank of New York, and they're moving away from these types of transactions as serving as a trustee. So we are using Old National this time.
Give us an idea of timeline as to how quickly this 4.5 will be paid out. I mean, are we looking 12 to 18 months, perhaps?
It will pay out from our coffers to the trustee, hopefully in the next 30 days.
No, yeah, no,
And
but I mean,
then,
when it's in their hands, in other words, how long can we expect to receive a little bit of interest income off of that before it's completely spent?
I would imagine that it will probably be spent within a 3 to 6 month period.
Quickly? Okay.
Yes, because they have an overall $44 million project, and they'll
You
be,
said this goes out immediately.
yes.
Yeah, first out.
Beth, I'm sorry, one last question. So I did, Kathy, a follow-up to that. So when it moves off of here, I understand that the trustee is dealing with the in and outs of those monies, but will we have another page, kind of like Certified Tech Park or any of those others that monitors that with us or reports? You said it reports back to us, but are they just sending us a report that'll be a part of our packets? Got it. Okay, thank you.
And that interest it will be receiving will be in the interest line at the top of this report.
Correct.
Got it. It's a lot of money. I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, yeah,
that we have
it's what we do. I
a
mean,
handle on where it's going and where
Well,
we're seeing
You
it.
know, the interest for a little while.
It is something, yeah.
is gonna be
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
meaningful with that much.
Absolutely. yeah.
Thank
Good-
you.
Good point, Mike, yeah. No, it is a lot of money, and we want to make sure that we're being,
We see it.
yes, very responsible with it, yes.
I want a whole sheet on that money.
Yeah, I would imagine that more than likely July or August would be our first report that we would receive from the trustee.
Okay. Questions on that page before we move into the others?
So then that gives us total available for new projects of $3,243,046.85 for new projects.
Okay.
With the certified technology park, we have a total available of $2,031,024.31.
Any input there on how that can change in the future?
No, they are, from a statewide level, they are still reorganizing and determining how they move forward.
We don't expect to spend anything out of that while we're waiting for them to.
We can still spend out of it if we
Spend out of
have.
it. Okay. If
So
we
long
have
as
a
it's within the
project in.
boundaries of
Yeah,
what's
okay.
acceptable.
And then, for some reason, I do not have the Johns Manville page.
Oh,
Mine's
I
on
don't
the back
either.
of the CTP.
Okay. My apologies.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
I don't either.
Oh, mine was on the back of the page.
Ah,
This is the CTP.
Well, Mike, would you mind sharing the available balance with us?
$1,715,562.67.
Okay,
well done.
okay, thank you.
$1,715,562.67.
Perfect. With the Heartland Fund, as a reminder, this is one that whatever revenue comes in, we retain the $10,000 for professional services, and the rest is paid directly to the trustee to pay the bonds for this project. And with the Midwest Industrial Park, those payments come from allocation area 1. So as you recall, the line item that we have on allocation area 1 in the bond obligations that says TIF revenue bond of 2022, that is the payment amount. That is where the payment for these bonds is coming from.
Wait, where did you say that? Sorry.
On the very first
page,
page,
sorry. Yep.
at the bottom, under bond obligations,
got it.
that third bond listing.
Yeah, thank you.
That gets transferred somewhere along the line, doesn't it, Beth? So that we don't
So
wind up with this negative
the
balance?
funding gets transferred from allocation area 1 to the Midwest Industrial Park bond fund, and then from there it gets transferred to the trustee.
And when does that happen?
They have been doing that annually.
Okay. So we can expect to see this negative number probably for
Yes.
the balance of the year?
Yes.
Okay. And then that all gets squared away at the end of the year?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Any further questions on the finances? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the financials as of April 30th, 2025. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Financials are approved. And Beth, I'm going to count under this approval, if I can, the inherent approval of the March financials, since it all kind of adds up. Right. Excellent. Next item on our agenda is old business. I don't know that we have any old business. I want to skip and move new business to the end and move up our other business, because we have a couple of updates here. We don't have any resolutions today to address, but we do have some updates that I think all of us will be interested in. We have an update on the 6 Main project and an update on the Revitalize Richmond project.
Yes, so for 6 Main, the demolition and compaction of the area has been completed. At this point, the developer, Flaherty and Collins, was waiting on the closure of their redevelopment tax credits with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation before moving forward with the early civil and foundation package. The IEDC has not indicated a final closure date for those tax credits. We have been anticipating a closing date and have had closing dates since March that have been pushed back. With the changes at the IEDC and at the state level, they are still moving forward in the process. The developer was requested to come back and represent the project for approval a second time in March of this year, which they did, and have moved that forward. In talking with the developer and encouraging them, they are going to go ahead and move forward with the early civil and the foundation package beginning on June 2nd. The 2 job trailers for the project will be placed on the site next week. They are still awaiting a closing date. The redevelopment tax credits, on the same day that those close, we will also be closing on the TIF bonds that were approved by the commission, as well as the developer will be closing on his construction financing for the project. So all 3 of those closings will occur simultaneously. With the repayment of the bonds and obviously the repayment of the construction loan, the developer would like to see the quickest path forward to generating revenue from the project that would repay those. So by going ahead and closing on our bonds or closing on his financing starts that clock, and if for some reason the IEDC chooses not to move forward for some reason on the redevelopment tax credits, that creates a $4 million gap, which jeopardizes the project. There would have to be a filling of that $4 million gap by the developer. At this point, we have absolutely no indication that the IEDC is not going to move forward and close. In our conversations, in the developer's conversation, they have simply indicated that they still need more time and that they are moving forward. So we had a date set for last Thursday, the 15th. That was then pushed back, and we're now being told before the end of this month, which would be next week. Haven't received anything yet for a closing date. There are several bond documents that would be executed on our side, as well as a transfer, and typically we receive those 48 hours before a closing. So, but starting June 2nd, they are going to be moving forward so that they don't lose a construction season, so that they can go ahead and keep the project moving. So we appreciate the developer taking that risk and going ahead and moving forward with that work.
So that means they're actually breaking ground on June 2nd?
Yes.
Are these approval of these tax credits, is this process taking inordinately long, implying that there's red flags that they're working through?
The credits have been approved.
It's just the,
It's just the actual closing.
okay, and have those credits already, they've probably sold.
They've already
They've got
taken,
commitments to the
Yes.
members, okay.
yes.
Okay, so we will start to see something moving on that.
Yes, it's
In the
very
next couple of
exciting.
weeks.
Yes. Yeah, we had a pre-construction meeting 2 weeks ago, and then we had a logistics meeting last week talking about how materials will get to and from the site, routes, safety, different things with traffic and others. So I expect on June 2nd, we'll be having our health and safety plan review, and they'll be getting started.
Great, it's great news.
It's very exciting.
I don't remember if we said this at the last meeting, but I think it should go on record that the company that took down the building did such a nice job. They were so fast and so clean, and I just think if we didn't say it publicly last time, we should.
Yeah.
They did a
Yes.
great
O-
job.
Great site
O'Rourke
preparation.
Wrecking, yes, O'Rourke Wrecking was great to work with, and as Allison indicated, they did a great job. And Flaherty and Collins also, in part of our logistics and our pre-construction meeting, they have a contract with a street sweeper and others to keep the streets clean on a daily basis and to ensure that the area is very tidy.
Good.
Let's, in worst case scenario, say there is that $4 million shortfall due to things falling apart, and they start the process. What would happen if that does occur? I mean, tell us, would everything come to a screeching halt?
It would honestly depend on the developer and if there are slight modifications that they can make to their plans, or if there are things that they can move around that would allow them to continue to move forward. Because
You don't see it potentially killing the
No.
entire project?
no, I think it could potentially affect the timing of some
That
of
would
it.
be the word. Okay, that's
Okay,
not so scary.
yeah.
No, not so scary.
Yeah, otherwise we're looking at a fundraiser, right?
Yeah, the developer is very excited about the project and very committed to the community and the project, and looking forward to getting these up and leased.
So are we.
Absolutely.
Very good, thank you, Beth. The next is Revitalize Richmond update, and it looks like Dakota is going to be speaking to that.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Hey.
I'm Dakota Collins. I'm the Director of Community Relations at Earlham. I'm here at the request of President Lucid and Mr. Turner to give you an update on the Revitalize Richmond project. So I won't spend a ton of time talking about how we got here insofar as the planning process bringing us to this project. But if you have any questions regarding that, I'm happy to answer them. Just as a reminder, this Revitalize Richmond is a part of the Lilly Endowment's College and Community Collaboration Initiative, excuse me, that they funded in 2 separate rounds. We received funding in December of 2023 for a project to start in January 2024. The deal with the funder, the call for proposals was that they would fund projects up to $25 million, but they would only fund 30% of the total project costs. To fast forward that math a little bit, if you wanted to apply for $25 million, you had to find $56 million from other sources. Due to the planning and vision of various members of this community, projects like 6 Main, we were able to not only secure that $56 million, but find $83 million in other sources. So Revitalize Richmond, through all of the projects that combine it, is over $100 million invested into downtown Richmond in a 5-year timeline. That timeline for us ends December 31st, 2028. So within Revitalize Richmond, we have 3 primary pillars: activate, build, and connect. There are various projects under each of these pillars, and I'll go through and talk a little bit about each of them, and then give you a status update about where we are. First, under activate, this is all of the fun stuff. This is what makes downtown a vibrant, active community for people visiting, for residents. And we know that that starts with a vibrant business environment and ecosystem. We have 2 projects that rely heavily or feed heavily into that. One is the hiring of a full-time small business and entrepreneurship coach. This person serves as the center hub of a wheel of services for local budding entrepreneurs and current small business owners. This is a position that's going to be hired through Earlham College, but will be active and actually be centered downtown. We are at the ending phases of that hiring process, so I'm hoping to have somebody in the office and onboarded, if I'm crossing my fingers, within a month. A complementary piece of that is contracting with an outside firm, primarily to do retail and restaurant recruitment. We all know that we need and we want to support our local small business owners, but we also all know that entrepreneurship is an inherent risk, not just for the entrepreneur, but for the community that's backing them. In order to secure that risk a little bit, we're contracting with a firm called Retail Strategies and their subsidiary Downtown Strategies. What this firm will do is look regionally at independently owned businesses that have a model of success, that fit within an appropriate market mix for downtown Richmond. They will approach those businesses, talk to them about downtown Richmond, and encourage them to open up a second or a third location in a new market that is Richmond. And so we're really excited to partner with that firm to do this work. They are currently, we're currently under that contract. They're in the process of doing significant planning, and the goal is to have them in active recruitment mode in August. So between these 2 initiatives, we're looking to fill a lot of the storefronts in downtown Richmond with local entrepreneurs and experienced business owners.
Is this recruitment firm just Indiana specific, or are they nationwide?
They're nationwide and they're centered out of Birmingham, Alabama.
And have they worked with other communities in Indiana?
I don't know specifically about Indiana, but I will say I've had several meetings with them so far, and they are one of the best groups I've ever worked with. They are professional, they are timely, they keep me on track, which is always important. And in our very first meeting, they delivered a lot of important information and key timelines for me to help report back to the endowment. So I'm very excited to be working with them.
And have you spoken with other communities that they have hired as well to do this recruiting for restaurants and retail? Have you?
I have not directly, but I know this community has been engaging with Retail Strategies in the hopes of having a contract with them for a number of years, and that work, that due diligence has been done.
So regarding the recruitment of small businesses, so you talked about like this would be opening like a second or a third
Potentially.
restaurant. So would that be someone that maybe has a restaurant like in Nashville, Tennessee, or would it need to be like somewhere in Indianapolis?
We don't necessarily have a predefined
Like circumference
district.
that
No,
you're-
we want to give them relative flexibility
Okay.
to find the appropriate businesses that would like to. ideally, we would want to see businesses, and we want to support other Indiana and regional
Okay.
businesses,
I
but
just didn't know, like, if
yeah.
that was a parameter.
it's
that-
about finding the right fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I would add to that, obviously, we have all slept since then, but this commission funded a contract with Retail Strategies in 2019 to do this work, and we did contact other communities that they had worked in, and they were very happy with the work and had seen a lot of success. That contract did not move forward due to COVID. So that contract was rescinded due to the market conditions and that time. It just was not appropriate. And then Revitalize Richmond was able to reconnect with them.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the reminder that we have done our due diligence.
I think we're all familiar with the Whitewater Gorge Activation Plan. It's a very exciting project for our community that is pretty comprehensive and in-depth for the Whitewater Gorge. Revitalize Richmond is funding a relatively small portion of this plan, focusing on accessibility improvements around the Test Road Trailhead, which is under current development. They have cleared a lot of ground, making way for kayak and canoe pickup and drop-in, a new parking lot, and other amenities there. We're also focusing in on both the conservation of native materials, but also reducing invasive vegetation, reintroducing some of that native plant life, and being able to ensuring that visitors and citizens alike can actually see the river when they're down in Stargenet Plaza. And then finally, there's that entertainment piece, working with the Parks Department to ensure the zip line, a much anticipated zip line through the area will be done through a third-party outfitter, along with some opportunities for kayaking and canoeing. Additionally, we're working with an Earlham alum, Eric Dimmick Eastman, who has a passion for establishing a new makerspace in downtown Richmond. Eric and his wife Becky have purchased the property on the corner of 10th and Main, the former Kessler's and BSN buildings, the former Romy furniture store. They've purchased both of those buildings with the intent to put a makerspace in the basement first and maybe part of the second floor. That project ran into some significant stops over the last year due to structural concerns around the building. But in speaking with Eric, we're all very excited that we can see the end of that very dark tunnel now, and being able to move forward with that building in a positive way. So while we've been waiting for the structural concerns to be addressed, we've also are in the process of contracting with a makerspace consultant, a group that has worked in Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan in the past to establish other relevant makerspaces. This will be a pretty comprehensive contract with them, about 18 months worth of work to take the organization of the makerspace, define what needs it needs to fill, and create a sustainable business model for it. It will be a nonprofit organization, but we still want it to operate on a very successful and sustainable business model.
It's going to be a nonprofit, so what does that mean in terms of tax collections on that property?
Great question. The buildings themselves will be held by an LLC that will pay property taxes. They will lease the space to the nonprofit that runs the makerspace.
Good. And what's the estimated timeline on when we might see something actually happening in that building? It sounds like you're at least 18 months out.
Yeah, so we anticipate starting that contract probably towards the end of June, beginning of July. So maybe the end of 2026, we'll have a makerspace that's open. I don't know the current timeline on the structural improvements, but I do know that Eric wants to get those done as soon as possible.
Okay.
Lastly, I group these two projects together generally under vitality. They include beautification and ambiance enhancements to the downtown area. This could be green space, could be wayfinding signs or public art, any number of things that generally bring up the atmosphere of downtown. And then also programming. We want to invite a lot of people to the downtown area for different events, and with a specific focus on encouraging Earlham students to come to the downtown area and engage with the Richmond community in meaningful, but also in casual ways. Moving on to our Build initiative, this is also one of the most exciting pieces and something that we have already been able to see visually. This is about taking some of our dilapidated and underused spaces and creating a more vibrant and constructive atmosphere for them. Generally, under private development, this is where 6 and Main comes into the Revitalize Richmond project. It is because of the development of this work that we've been able to secure this funding. Technically, because of the funding that has been secured so far, Revitalize Richmond isn't directly contributing to this project, but it exists within the project, so we're able to count those funds as cost share. Additionally, we're working with another private developer to, instead of doing a new build like Flaherty and Collins is doing on the former Elder Beerman site, to focus in on historic renovations of a number of large buildings in our downtown area, also to put in market rate apartments into those spaces. Additionally, under Build, we're working with Richmond Neighborhood Restoration to focus on different size buildings and support one of our local nonprofits. You've already seen some work that R&R has done, but after I'm done talking, I'll invite Roxy Deer, the Executive Director of R&R, up to talk just a little bit more about that in detail. And then finally, we have Connect. For us, this is really about how do we connect the Richmond and Earlham communities with physical infrastructure. One is through the improvement of public transportation. We all know that there are some significant issues with public transit writ large in Richmond. That is going to be addressed by a transportation master plan that the city is doing. What we want to help support is a rebranding initiative for Roseview. Help create potentially a mobile app, maybe some new marketing to help encourage students to utilize public transportation. When we did our listening sessions and our surveying in preparing to submit this grant, we heard from students several things. One was that they were interested in using public transportation, but literally, and I mean literally, not one student claimed to. And so they have that want, they have that desire, and they have the desire to get off of campus, but they're not using it for very specific reasons. This is one of them. Additionally, we're looking at purchasing an electric bus, retrofitting it to look more like a trolley, and have it loop around the downtown and the Depot District, but also make a stop to campus. This isn't just for students, but for residents and visitors alike. They'll be able to hop onto this bus, take it around, visit different spaces in the center of our city, make it back to their car or back to campus safely. So this, whereas a lot of the Roseview Public Transit's work is focused around getting people in our community to and from where they need to go, this is more focused on entertainment and more centralized transit.
And would there be a cost for the electric trolley bus?
That hasn't been determined quite yet. The next piece is our multi-use paths. You all probably know the multimodal trail that currently exists ends at the entrance to Star Jeanette Plaza. Like I mentioned, in our listening session, students said two things. One, they would go downtown if two things existed. One was there were things to do. We're working on that. But the other was if they felt comfortable getting there. Public transit is one of those pieces, but our students do love our more traditional modes of transportation, biking and walking. When they put it into their GPS and say, how do I get to Roscoe's or to Susie's Pizza, it takes them down US 40. That's the only way they know to go. But walking and biking down that road can be and especially feel a little treacherous. So rather than having them go down 40, we will have them cross 40 at the light and pick up this multi-use trail, effectively an expanded sidewalk on Southwest 8th Street, It'll take them to West Main, and there they'll pick up a different trail that goes from Clear Creek Park to the entrance to Stargenet Plaza. So this dedicated path, not only for students, but also for West Side citizens, that will take them right into downtown. The question is always, how do we know if we're going to be successful throughout this? We have a lot of KPIs for this, and they're generally categorized into measures of perception and measures of community vitality. In the measures of vitality, we're looking directly at what does the investment outside of Revitalize Richmond look like in downtown. We want to increase it by 200% based on our benchmark. We want to see at least 85% of the storefronts occupied and 78% of the upper stories occupied, increasing the number of downtown businesses by 15% and the number of downtown jobs by 10%. Under measures of perception, we want to increase the number of respondents who say Richmond has a vibrant downtown center from 15% to 30%. Increase respondents who say that there are fun things to do in Wayne County from 63 to 75%. Increase Earlham respondents who say they visit downtown weekly from 44% to 60%, that is students, faculty, and staff. And then increase the number of recent grads who report working or volunteering or continuing their education in Richmond from 11 to 13%. You can see from these metrics, these aren't wild, outlandish things. These are all very accomplishable, and we expect them to happen over the course of our grant.
Question.
Yeah.
Going from 15% positive opinion of the downtown to 30%, while it's a 100% increase, even 30% saying it's a positive is, I appreciate the going in the right direction, but is that only 30%? It makes me ask the question.
No, I totally understand that question. What these measures respond to specifically is what we report back to the funder. And so we want to ensure that not only are they stretch goals, but they are fully accomplishable. So we anticipate some of them, that one specifically, could be greater.
Let's hope so.
We definitely hope so, but we want to be able to ensure that we can report success back to the funder.
Well, and is that also giving a trajectory?
Yes.
So you're heading in, and you would see growth.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Continues.
Yeah.
Can we pick the people we ask to respond? I'm totally joking.
I'm just going to pull discreet.
I just kidding.
Is that what you teach your
That was a joke, I promise. Yeah, that's what I teach my clients. Just kidding.
It looks very achievable.
I think so too.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Before I bring Roxy up to talk about R&R, are there any other questions about Revitalize Richmond writ large?
So the coaching, the business coach, if someone is interested in getting a hold of that person, I know that person doesn't exist yet, but how would they do so? Like, I'm assuming you'll have that advertised somehow, and
We will have it advertised. This position actually does have a marketing budget that is to
Okay.
market their services and the services of other partners that help
Right.
entrepreneurs and small business
Okay.
owners.
Just
Yeah.
wanting to make sure that people can get connected.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Anything else?
I will say that we have seen a lot of plans over the years on how to address the downtown situation. And I think this plan is the best structured plan and the most achievable that we've seen.
Thank you very much. There were a lot of people that worked on it. I know I said I wouldn't talk about the planning, but we had a steering team that included not only Earlham, but the Wayne County Foundation, the City of Richmond, Reed Health, and the Economic Development Corporation. Am I missing somebody? I think there are 6. I might be missing somebody. But then we split into 3 different working groups and had, I believe, almost 50, maybe more citizens that were involved in this downtown work, actively engaged in building this project. And some really incredible consultants working with us too. So it was definitely a community effort.
Very good. Thank you, Dakota. We appreciate the update. It's very exciting.
Roxy?
Thanks, Dakota. I'm Roxy Dearn with Richmond Neighborhood Restoration, and as many of you know, we have been working on 4 to 5 projects through the Revitalize Richmond, but Most notably, right now we own 2 buildings. One is almost completed within weeks, and then the other one is just getting started. So I'm going to talk about the Reedmore building first, which I think everyone is familiar with at 9th and Main Street. We have, through Revitalize Richmond, started this project in November, and like I said, we're about 2 weeks from all major construction being completed. And then it's on to the design phase and the little things that we do before our big open house. The apartments, there are 4 apartments, 2 on each floor, and then the retail space has been white boxed for a future entrepreneur. We're pretty excited about this. The feedback from the community has been fantastic. Like I said, we purchased it on November 1st and windows were delivered on November 2nd. So the planning process has been fantastic. This project has brought new energy to our organization, but also to the downtown area. And that we have to give a lot of credit to our contractors. Wiesenhunt Construction has served as our general manager on this project, and working with all of the subcontractors and all the permitting, that process, they've been fantastic. The second project we're working on is the U.S. Bank building, which many of you are aware of, used to be the Second National Bank. Through the grant, we need to put 1 living unit in the bank, so that process has just started as far as getting the bids and determining what that will look like. We imagine this apartment, this living unit, will be about 3,000 square feet and will be kind of the high-end penthouse that we all would love to see in our downtown area. So that work should start in mid-July. So we're excited about that, and we've identified our next building. I'm not ready to announce that publicly, but it will include upper story apartments as well.
Is that also in the downtown area?
Yes, all of our projects through Revitalize Richmond are on the Main Street area.
Excellent.
What questions do you have for me?
Well, we've watched a derelict eyesore turn into a very attractive building under the guidance of R&R.
Thank you. And if anyone would, after this meeting, I know it's raining and gross out, but if you would like to go see the Reedmore building as it is right now, like I said, it's nearly finished. I'll be down there, so feel free to stop in.
I would say that I think that there are a lot of people on Facebook that I'm sure give you some very constructive feedback that you are really desiring. But I think the majority of people are really excited to see that building and the others move forward. So thank you for keeping people updated on social media, because I think that helps me be able to talk about the project.
Me too.
To people
Me
who
too.
aren't
I
in
think
town.
you've done an excellent job with that.
Yeah.
We've had to keep the windows covered because we have so many people sneaking in or trying to get photos. It is a construction site, so please don't walk in without permission of our contractors, because people are excited to see the building and we're ready to show it off.
It looks really good. The colors are beautiful.
When
Thank
do
you.
we get to hear about project number 3?
In the next month or so, once all of the documents are signed.
Okay, got it.
We'll keep it a secret for just a little bit longer.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roxy.
I think it's been really smart for Revitalize Richmond to also utilize one of our nonprofits that has proven themselves to be fast and effective. So I would applaud the project for partnering and not trying to take everything on yourself, because Earlham can't do everything. So as much as we want Dakota to fix everything, he can't. So.
I think we've heard some really positive things here associated with bringing downtown back to life, and it's very exciting. And thank you. Thank you very much, Dakota and to Roxy. Okay, that concludes our updates. That will move us into new business. And for the new business section, I just want to announce that we are going to be having an executive session meeting specifically regarding Project Phoenix. And we are having that meeting, and I'm going to just read the information associated with how we can do that, because that meeting will be a closed meeting, so it won't be open to the general public. It'll be an opportunity for the commissioners to come up to speed with the details of this project so that we can move into the next phase of questions and decision-making. So in order to do that, the general substance of the matter to be discussed and/or proposed in executive session is as follows. For discussion of strategy with respect to a real property transaction, including a purchase, a lease as lessor, a lease as lessee, a transfer, an exchange, or a sale by the governing body up to the time a contract or option is executed by the parties, and this is pursuant to Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-6.1b and 2d. So we have memorialized now this legal capability that we have to call this executive meeting. And that meeting will be later this week. So we will come together and have an opportunity to hear about the project and ask questions.
At each of your seats, you will have a confidential packet of information. All of these documents are confidential, and this is what we will be reviewing at that meeting. So as you have an opportunity to go through those anytime prior to the meeting, if you have questions or need additional information, please let me know, and I will do my best to answer those questions as we move forward.
And I think you'll see as you go through the information in front of you, it really is important to have an executive session so that we can go through the details. There's quite a bit of information here, and I know we'll have questions to talk about. Okay. Beth, do you have any other business to come before the commission at this point?
No.
Anyone else have any other business to bring before the commission?
No.
Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
You are watching Whitewater Government Television, WGTV, Channel 11, part of the Whitewater Community Television family of stations.